Hey Facebook, we know it is a little late. We actually were traveling from Maryland to Arizona, and so our flight didn't land until after 7 o'clock, which is why
Yeah,
we
7 o'clock.
East Coast
Arizona,
time,
no Arizona,
Arizona time. So
Yes.
we're really late East Coast
10:30.
time, but hopefully you'll have some time this week to watch this video. Last week I was on the telephone with a client, and
We got a
on
couple
the
people
client we
joining us.
do. Hey, share this video. If you see this video, don't forget to share it because I think it's very pertinent what we're going to talk about to everybody, no matter where you are in life, because people have problems all the time. And so I was talking to someone last week, and it was a client of mine who's actually in my Velocity Mastermind group. And one of the questions, we were on the phone together, one of the questions that, hi Laura, how are you? One of the questions that she asked me was, LaShawn, on one of your Facebook lives, the Money School with LaShawn Holland, can you please talk about the times where you and Robert, things didn't go as planned for you guys, and how did you regroup? And listen, I guess it was like last year sometime I started having this conversation with Rob, and I was just saying how sometimes I think actually I think it started maybe more like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And you may remember this conversation. I was like, well, sometimes I think people see us on stages and they think that because of where we are today, that, it's been like rosy all along, and it hasn't been. And we even at
Not
one
at
point
all.
went to our kids, and we
Right.
told our kids, we was just like, look, because my son was really being challenged in playing D1 college football, and we had to go to him and start talking to him about how it hasn't always been easy for his dad and I. And so my husband took him back to the place we used to live when we first got married so he can see. He couldn't believe it. When we pulled up in front of the house, he was just like, where are we? Why are we here? And my husband pointed to the duplex we used to live in, and he was like, this is where your mom and I started. And Rob began to share the story with him, and how if we would have given up, we wouldn't be where we are today. And he was crying. I was sitting in the back of the car crying, and so then my son started crying, and he taught him some really great life lessons. But I just believe, personally, I'm going to get to how we deal with disappointments now when stuff doesn't work out. But problems never stop. I don't care what level you're on financially, whether you're
Yep.
just a thousandaire or a millionaire or multimillionaire or decamillionaire or billionaire. You just have different levels of problems. And so problems never stop. They just simply get exchanged or upgraded, right? And so,
And let's be clear, we're not talking about marital issues. We're talking
Yeah.
about money issues.
Money and business.
And business.
yeah,
Right,
and
business
so money
issues.
and business issues. And
Right.
so we have to learn to solve our problems and not avoid them. And that's totally two different things. Solving a problem and avoiding a problem is totally two different things. And so, I was reading an article not too long ago when Warren Buffett was talking about some of the problems that he has, and he's a billionaire. So if Warren Buffett has money problems, they're just a different type of problem, but they're a problem nonetheless. And so the problem, one of the things that I believe that God placed on the inside of us is giving us the ability to be able to solve problems. And so the issue really is how we go about solving the problems. And I believe that happiness really is an action. It's an activity.
Yep.
And negative emotions really is a call to action. I didn't believe this years ago, or I didn't necessarily understand it the way that I do now. But years ago, and you may have heard us tell this story or not, but years ago we purchased land. Wasn't a lot of land. It was about 5 acres of land, and we paid cash for the land. And so we had met with some architects and had designed the home that we wanted to build and that we were building, and things did not go as planned. We had given our builder $80,000 to start, and that was to remove some of the trees on the property and to get the deep well. We paid extra to have an artesian well put in. We paid him extra to kick the house out by 4 or 8 feet. Can't remember, but we had paid him extra for that. And so, long story short, he took the money and didn't do half of what he was supposed to do with it. And we had really done our homework on him, on the builder. We had did our research on him, and
what we thought we did.
What we thought we did. What we found out was he was using another builder's number. And so when the reviews came up excellent, it wasn't for him, it was for another builder. And so, long story short, he built our house up on an unapproved set of plans. He went like 8 or 9 feet over the builder's restriction line. It caused the county to sue us 3 different times. It was a nightmare. This was in 2004. It was like a nightmare. It was one of the worst years of my life. And to be honest, I felt like a failure. And money, we were just spending money hand over fist. The county made us bring in plants from Canada, trees from Canada. Now, mind you, the whole entire 5 acres were trees. And they made us bring in special trees from Canada. They made us bring in
for a bioretention pond
that doesn't even work to this day.
It does nothing.
But
it's grass.
But you know, nonetheless, money was, you know, and because
we felt like it was flying out the window.
That's because it was.
Yep.
And long story short, he didn't pay any of the contractors that he was supposed to pay, so we had to pay them essentially twice. And he turned around once we found out that he was using somebody else's builder's code. I mean, anything that he could do wrong, he did. We paid for 50-year shingles on the roof. He had 20-year shingles delivered. I mean, he was just skimming all area. Long story short, he sued us because we fired him. And our attorneys told us, listen, you're probably going to win the lawsuit, but he's going to file bankruptcy. His attorney had talked to our attorney. He was going to file bankruptcy, so we wouldn't have got anything anyway. And so for a while, I did. You know, I was depressed and I was very down, and, you know, and I had to snap myself out of it. That's one area. And then another area, I can't tell you how many investments we've made over the years before we got to the point of where we are today with our investment education IQ being raised. But before then, you know, we've made plenty of investments. Early to Tech was one IPO years and years ago.
You ain't have to call them out.
Well, they were crooks.
Yeah.
And so,
what's up, D?
Hey, D. Hey, niece. How are you?
Girl.
And so, long story short, nothing ever came out of it. And I mean, we have a couple of those stories where things didn't go.
Thousands of dollars.
It was thousands of dollars, and so, and at that time, it was thousands of dollars when that was everything we had.
Right.
That was that little $8,000 was all we had in our savings at that time.
Yeah.
And so we took it, we invested it. Long story short, nothing ever came out of it, and that was one. But I have so many different stories where we could have given up in business, but we chose not to. And I think now we understand, for you who attend the Wealthy Revolution Live event every year, that's why we always deal with mindset, because mindset is so important. And so negative emotions, you can either, when something happens, you can either assign one of two emotions to the situation, and that is the emotion of pain or the emotion of pleasure. And so we're designed to avoid pain at all costs.
Yeah.
And so, but avoiding it doesn't necessarily get you through it. And so negative emotions really is a call to action. When you feel them, you're supposed to do something about them, not ignore them. And so we've learned that over the years, and we've learned how to really process it and work our way through it quickly. We've learned how to pivot quickly. And I do a whole section on pivot inside of Relentless 7. If you don't never heard of it, it's LaShawnHolland.com/relentless. And it's a 7-day program that I just, teach people, the 7 most important things that they need to learn when it comes to money and building a different type of life. But you really have to do something about it and not ignore it. And so most people don't like to climb much. They want to imagine the summit, that up top, the pinnacle of it, but they don't like the actual climb of it. And so they want only the victory, but they don't want the fight. They want, people want the reward, but they don't want the struggle. And so they want the result, but not the process. And
it's the process really that allows you to grow.
It's the process that allows you to grow.
And that's where you learn. Going through the process.
That's where you learn. And so life doesn't work this way, where you get the victory without the fight, where you get the success without the process. And so who you are really is defined by what you're willing to sacrifice, and at some different point struggle for, because it's not all easy, especially in the first few years when we decided we wanted, to pursue wealth. And so our struggles really do determine our successes. And, this is why I can help someone accelerate their path to true financial freedom, because I've made a lot of mistakes and I know where the shortcuts are, that you don't have to follow the same mistakes. And so the joy I have learned really is in the climb itself, but most people try to avoid it.
Right, and just like climbing, when you climb, you may stumble, right? But that doesn't mean you turn around and march back down the hill. That means you get up and you keep climbing.
And so one of the things that we used to do when we first had Adam, our oldest son, Adam used to, when he would fall down as a baby, we would clap, and we ended up doing this with all 3 of our kids. So he would fall, and when a baby, if you've ever seen a baby fall down and scrape its knee or hurt itself, it looks up and is confused because it doesn't know what to do for a split second. And so what we used to do is we used to start clapping. Yay, Adam, great fall, yay, good fall. And he would look like, okay, should I cry? But they're clapping and cheering for me and smiling. So what do I do? And he will always start smiling. And so we did that every time he fell. We did the same thing with Jonathan. We did the same thing with Zoe, because we figured that it worked with Adam, so it will work with Jonathan and Zoe too. And so it got to the point that translated even in going through school. When something didn't go their way, they knew that we were always in their corner cheering them on. And so we wanted to be a soft place to land. But even if you don't have that person in your life that's cheering you on, God is always cheering you on. He is your soft place to land.
And we are cheering you on. Ultimately, we want to see you be successful. So with every fall, yay, it's a good fall. Get up and keep going. Don't stop and turn around and retreat down the mountain.
Yeah, and so, to change his emotions, we had to change the reaction to it. Same thing when something happens, that doesn't necessarily go the way that you want it. You got to change your reaction to it. And so that's really important. And one of the things that we talked about this year at Wealthy Revolution was creating, a wealthy state, of mind versus a suffering state or a poverty state. And that's really important in life. No matter what happens, if you're able to change your outlook about the situation quickly, if you're able to do that, you can create, there are, I can't call it endorphins. I wish Adam was here. A chemical, there's a chemical in your body that your brain releases based off of the emotions that you attach to certain situations. And so it's important for you to realize, okay, when something happens, am I in a beautiful state or am I in a suffering state? And if you are in a suffering state, meaning you're thinking negative thoughts,
it's the end of the world. This will never work.
Gloom and doom.
Why did I do this?
Yeah. And so if you're very negative about the situation, then a lot of times think the opposite of that. And so name something that didn't go right for us recently.
Let's see. We had to cancel the Richmond tour because we only
had to cancel the Richmond tour.
We only had what, 2 people, 1 or 2 people.
Two people registered for the Richmond tour.
Yep.
Now, I lost money on that because all of the tour spots I have to pay, not book the room, but I gotta pay for all of it up front, out of pocket. And so, which means if registration doesn't pay, I lose the money. And so,
keep in mind, we're only charging $47 for this book tour.
You keep reminding me of that.
$47.
And
but
people
that's
don't understand that when you do a tour spot, it's, air transportation, ground transportation, not only the room that they're in, they're shipping to get just to ship 50 books is $200.
Right.
Because it goes by weight. Then you have AV equipment that you have to ship there. And so there are a lot of costs that's in it. And you know what? I lost money. I had to cancel. It was only 2 people that registered for the Richmond tour. I canceled it. Move on. It's over with. I lost the money. I lost a couple $1,000s. Move on. And so you may say, well, you can afford to lose a couple $1,000s. Listen, if you know me, I absolutely hate to waste money. I can't stand waste money. I don't know
anybody who likes to lose money.
Right. Yeah. And so, but guess what? I couldn't dwell that only 2 people showed up because the next weekend, the next day, we went to Charlotte. We had an awesome event in Charlotte. Then the next week, we were in New Orleans. We had an amazing time in New Orleans. The room was jam-packed. And so, I could have stayed in a suffering state of mind when the Richmond tour didn't work out. Oh my God, I lost money, blah, 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 blah. Well,
and then suck when you got to New Orleans, but we know that wasn't the case.
No, not even New Orleans. Remember, Charlotte was in between the two. Right. So I could have got to Charlotte with a bad attitude, not showed up and laid an egg. But I know now I don't have that. I don't have the luxury of staying in a suffering state because I work with people all the time, and so how I show up, I believe how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so for me, I have to be able to make sure that I'm showing up great every day. When I get on the phone with a client or I'm doing a Velocity Mastermind call or whatever it is, when I have to do the money school with LaShawn Holland, I can't be getting on here. Don't nobody want to hear about you complaining because you lost money. Like, who wants to hear that? No one wants to hang around somebody that's a negative Nancy, all the time. And so you have to be able to shift. Things don't work out. It is not the end of the world. If they didn't work out, listen, it still didn't take God by surprise.
That's right.
Like, he knows everything. And he could be teaching you endurance. I'm not saying that that's the case. It came out later on. I remember when we were going through the whole house situation, my pastor came to me and he was like, LaShawn, I felt the weight of what you guys were under. And there were plenty of times when I could feel it walking by and I just wanted to say, what do you need? I'll give you whatever you need to help you out. And he said, God told him, no, I'm teaching her endurance. And so I'm teaching her fortitude. Now, I told him it would have been nice if you would have came to me and said, the Lord said, he's teaching you endurance. He's teaching you fortitude. But because of that situation, I can look back now and it was such a great learning experience for us. Did I like losing $80,000? Heck no, I ain't like losing $80,000. And I can tell you now, if I see Steve Johnson to this day, I'm calling him out. If I catch his little tail somewhere, I'm going to get my $80,000 or either 80,000 lumps upside his head. One of the two. But, you had to move on. I couldn't stay stuck there.
So I was just going to share, I think this is a main reason why it's important to know and understand your why, right? Because I often say when your why is bigger than you, then that becomes your motivation to keep going. So I think it's important when you hit roadblocks, when you hit those things in your business, in your personal life that frustrate you, you have to remember what your why is. And if you've made that why bigger than you, because it should be bigger than you, then that will be the thing to motivate you and keep you going. And I think that's what it is, for you with Richmond. your why is bigger than Richmond, right?
Yeah.
Richmond's important, but the why is bigger than Richmond. The why is Charlotte. The why is New Orleans. The why is Detroit.
Yeah.
We got other cities we need to hit. There are people we need to reach that need this message, and so the why is bigger than us.
Yeah, the why has to be bigger than us. And so that's why it's important for you to really know your why. And so when she asked the question, you know, LaShawn, what do you do when things don't work out? And another thing, know your why. Your why is important.
Yep.
But you guys know vision is so huge for me. And one of the reasons why I teach people all the time, like part of what we teach on the Born to Multiply book tour is about having a spiritual vision, about having a life vision, about having a living income plan to be able to hold the weight and fund that life vision. I teach on that because my vision really is what keeps us going. And so if you don't have a big enough vision, I believe that people aren't necessarily lazy. I just believe they don't have a vision big enough to inspire them, to get them to move to action. But one of the reasons why I don't allow disappointments or things that go wrong linger in my mind, linger in my heart, is because my vision is so much bigger than that. And so I just personally feel like I don't have time to stay in a suffering state of mind because of the vision. Like the time doesn't really wait for me to be able to stay stuck. And so I have to keep running because my vision calls me every single day that I get up. My vision is calling me. And so I think it's important for you to have a big vision. And so what if something doesn't work out? Listen, if one door closes, take 2 steps back and kick that sucker in. Or find another door. You know, find a way or make a way. But nothing is that detrimental that you should ever stop, especially when you know that God gave you the dream inside of your heart. And so if he placed that dream, you know, there's a book that I read years ago. Matter of fact, I just had my son read it last year. It's called The Dream Giver. And so you should read the book. It's a great book. I think it's by Bruce Wilkinson. I think that's his name. But all dreams are placed in our heart by God. And so if he placed the dream there, he knows that you have everything to bring the dream about on the inside of you already. So you just have to know how to tap into that. That's why having a coach is so important. That's why having mentors that can really pour into you is so important. I can't stress that enough.
Yep. So, and one thing I want you to remember, and just to go to the word for a minute, you know, the Bible says if you can see it, it's temporary, meaning that it's subject to change. So whatever obstacle you face, understand if you can see it, it's temporary. And anything that has a name is subject to the name of Jesus. Right. So learn to speak to that obstacle and tell it to be removed. But remember, if you can see it, it's temporary.
It's temporary.
It's not there forever. It's an opportunity for you to learn. It's not your forever.
That's one of the things that we teach the kids. You either learn or you grow.
Right.
Like you win or you learn. And so believers don't fail. We just regroup.
That's it.
And so we just have to learn to put some regrouping mechanisms in place. And part of that is getting your tail to the Wealthy Revolution Live event that's coming in March 19th through the 23rd. Because the first day, that's what we work on. We work on you create, because we know in building wealth, there will be times where things come up and they don't go as planned. Get yourself together and move on. You know, we're in the process. We teach this to our son. He's doing incredible in the market right now. Especially with the market going like this, he's doing great. But the days that are not so great, it's like, dude, look how much you've actually made.
Right.
Over
One
the
or
course
two bad days is not bad
when
at all.
you're making 200% in the market, 350% in the market, and you're consecutively having wins, one day when you lose 30%, like, get yourself together, dude. Like you've had more wins than anything else. And so even in your life, when you look at the grand scheme of things, you've had more wins than you've not.
That's right. You know, when we started, when we were preparing for this live, we kind of looked at each other and LaShawn said, well, talk about some struggles that we had. And I mean, honestly, I know we've had them,
We just
but
moved
because
past
we
them
haven't
really
made them a
quick.
focus and we moved past them really quick,
Yeah.
we have to really think about them
Yeah.
to remember what they are.
We
And
do,
so that's
and
what
those are the big ones that
Yeah.
that I mentioned. But it's true because we don't stay there mentally long. It'll happen like this.
Don't give it that much attention.
Hey,
It's
babe,
not that important.
I think I'm gonna cancel the trip. We're gonna lose a couple $1,000.
Yep.
And Rob sometimes don't even respond. He'll turn around and start talking about something else. Like, he honestly doesn't give it that much time. And that's how quick we have trained ourselves over the past, decade, because we've been at this a couple decades. We've trained ourselves not to really give that much attention to the things that don't
As a
go
man
right.
thinketh in his heart,
So is he. And so
don't
it's
be in a suffering state.
that's right. You
Yep.
can't stay in a suffering
Yep.
state of mind.
Yep.
And so, that's really important.
Yep.
That's
I
right.
don't know how long
Believers
we've
don't
been on
fail.
here.
We just regroup. Yeah, I'm not sure how long we've been on here either because we didn't take the time.
I was waiting for the date. Somebody said they were waiting for the date. So, Mark, if you're talking about Wealthy Revolution Live, Shannon Wilkerson, that is in March of 2020. I believe it's like 19, 20, and 21.
Yep,
March
it is.
2020.
And so on the
And we'll have more information coming out.
well, because we're actually taking registrations, but we're only taking registrations at Born to Multiply
Born to
the
Multiply.
tour. And I will tell you, last year we pre-sold for next year's event.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. She said we're at the 25-minute mark. Thank you for that update.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we got 5 more minutes. But we pre-sold last year, and we were about 85-90% sold out then. And then I haven't tallied how much have gotten tickets on the tour yet,
Nope.
but I'm pretty sure we're probably close to 100%.
We gotta be getting close.
We gotta be getting
Bigger
close.
room. Y'all need to pray
Which
for a
means
bigger
I
room.
gotta find a bigger location for us to be able to get into. But we are taking registrations on the Born to Multiply tour for
All right,
the event
Shannon
for
said
2020.
I'll be there. Okay,
All
Shannon.
right, Shannon.
We'll see you there.
We will see you there.
Yep. Doreen, never allow struggles to stop you.
That's right.
Amen.
We listen, we don't fail, we just regroup. It's just
Yep.
the opportunity for us to learn. And there are some times where I have to stop and say, okay, God, what am I supposed to learn in this situation? Like, because I don't want to stay here long. I
Yep.
don't want to be here forever. What am I supposed to learn in this situation? And so, we've just trained ourselves to just be able to move on.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the biggest things as our children get older is teaching them how to be able to pivot really early
Yes.
You
And
know.
really quick.
and really
Really
quick.
quick.
Because listen, when you have a big vision for your life,
The
struggle.
enemy ain't gonna let it he ain't gonna let you just walk through a green path.
He's not,
A
but
green
not
pasture.
even giving him any
Yeah.
any play or airtime.
Yep.
Just literally, vision doesn't stop just because something didn't go
Right.
something didn't go right. Can you imagine? Think about creation, and then I'm gonna go. Can you imagine if after God, who is the perfect parent, had a son that made a stupid decision? First of all, none of us are exempt from our kids making dumb decisions, because if God had a child that made a dumb decision, then none of us are exempt.
Yep.
But can you imagine if God just gave up after Adam? Like,
None of
his
us would be
vision
here.
was so much bigger
Yep.
than that.
Yep.
And so he knew the end from the
He
beginning.
knew all of us needed to
Right.
come
And
out
so
of
if we look at our vision like that is the end,
Right.
and we bring
Wow, that's
the
good.
end
That's
into
good.
our present,
That's good.
by the way we frame our thoughts.
Yep.
And so you
That's
can't
good.
just allow something like if you are staying in a suffering state longer than a day, guess what? Your vision is not big enough.
And there are people who are waiting on you to get out of that suffering state so you can help them get out of their suffering state.
Right.
So you
right.
can't afford to stay there long.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so you need a bigger vision, and you need to write that bigger vision down and keep it before you all the time. My vision is, as soon as we walk out our door, to go into the garage. The vision is taped. Every year when we come up with a vision, it is taped to that door.
Yeah.
I keep our vision before us. And so that's why in my heart it's so much bigger than one tour stop not working out or two tour stops that's not working out.
Yep.
The vision is bigger than
It's
that.
bigger than that.
And so it's bigger than the 100 or the 200 people that show up at Wealthy Revolution Live, because
Yes.
the vision is to one day fill a stadium. And so I
Yep.
can't get stuck or stop on the
Because we
little
can't fill a room in
things
Richmond.
because we can't fill a room of 30 people in Richmond. You see how dumb that sounds when I say it out loud? Most
Yeah.
of the time when we allow the things that don't go right in our lives to stop us, maybe you should stop and just say it out loud just to see how stupid it sounds and move on. And so,
Or how big it really isn't.
how big it really isn't.
Yeah.
So, tomorrow is or today. What time is it? I don't even know what time
West
it is.
Coast.
I
West
honestly
Coast.
didn't know
East
anybody.
Coast is probably, it's after midnight East Coast.
Okay,
It's
well,
10 o'clock. So it's our anniversary on the East Coast.
it's our anniversary on the East Coast. Negro,
Yes.
we on the West Coast right now.
I know. You asked what time was it on the East Coast.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just
okay,
telling
okay,
you.
okay.
It's our anniversary on the East Coast.
Okay, well-
So happy East Coast anniversary.
Happy East. So we're gonna have two.
We got two anniversaries.
You give me two gifts.
We just gonna have two anniversaries.
So anyway, it's our 25th wedding anniversary. Already on the East Coast. In a couple of hours on the.
125, man. Y'all are faithful, man. Dawn, I'm telling you, Lachelle, DeAndre, look at that. 125
It's
here is
after
after
1
1 a.m.
Oh, we love you guys.
Yeah, y'all are faithful, man.
Yes,
And that's
y'all
why
are.
we goofy, because it's really 1:30 for us too. Although it's only 10 o'clock here, with 10:30.
10:30 here.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be
Thank you.
it'll be our second anniversary in a couple of hours.
There you go. Thank you, Lachelle, for the happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Cam.
guys.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Thank
will
you,
see you
DeAndre.
guys next Monday.
Yep. Next Monday.
Okay, bye bye.
Love y'all.
Bye bye.